Are you ready for a job that gets you more? UPS is hiring now. As a warehouse worker, you'll earn up to $21 per hour, and you might even be eligible for a program that helps you with thousands of dollars for college, in many cases tuition free. Search and apply now at upsjobsky.com.
Card Nation, this is attorney Alex White with SueDistractedDriver.com. Our law firm is a team of dedicated attorneys ready to fight for you. If you get injured because of someone else's negligence, their insurance company already has a legal team, and now so do you. If you or a friend or loved one are injured, find your attorney at SueDistractedDriver.com.
This is an advertisement.
Welcome into the drive here on 93.9 The Ville. Mark Ennis, Luke Hancock. If I sound tired, it's because you people kept me up till like 1:15 in the morning last night, and deservedly so. If you want to know how the game went last night, here's how it works. One of the funnier things that happens with this show is, and I appreciate it, there's a compliment embedded in it, but some of you begin to text before the show starts. So we got the text line that's up all the time, and you can very clearly see text all the way up until about 11:58 with Marcus' show, and they basically stop because we don't have anything, but we don't have any local programming on at afternoon, and then they start coming in somewhere around 3 or after 3. 2:57. Mark, talk me off the ledge. That's the first text. That's how it went last night. Ledge talk.
And you said you were up late till what time? 1 o'clock?
The show ended at 1:10.
I guess you weren't talking people off the ledge last night. You were kind of letting them voice
That was
it
the
out.
ledge.
Yeah.
1:10.
What a beautiful day it is outside. Let's just get some positivity in here early, Patty Ice. You doing all right over there in the booth?
Yeah, there was some positivity to the pregame show last night, by the way. I shotgunned a beer and cussed on the air, and I almost cut myself. It was kind of crazy.
How'd you do in the shotgun?
I did great. There's a video out there. I think It was less than 2.5 seconds.
Positivity. There we go.
Yeah,
it might end right here, but we got some in.
We were shotgunning beers in the show, and then next thing you know, the rest is history.
We took a lot of calls in the postgame show last night.
I can imagine. Good thing you didn't have to take any calls at halftime.
There were some haymakers.
I tell you what, on the postgame show, we need to work on the can we double check on the podcast of the postgame show? Some people were saying it's only 4 minutes on SoundCloud. So, I know. I just want to say, as a father of 3, I know exactly the face that Pat just made upon hearing that. And I understand, Pat, so I don't feel the need to say anything else. So we'll double check on that. But the calls were I made a decision. I made an editorial decision as we went on the air for the postgame show that no one was going to be extreme. Like, there are some times when I take postgame show calls where I'm like, we are not having we'll go all the way to this conversation anymore. And I was just like, I don't think I can do it.
How would you get away with that?
I couldn't. I let it happen. Anybody was like, I want the guy fired or this or that. Like, I was like, I got to at least get it. Get it out. Get it out.
I mean, you got to rationalize like where that's coming from. Because we just got a text in that said we were sold a bill of goods. There were a lot of positives sold in this offseason that we were going to be ready for this one. You get to go to that stadium, albeit it looked pretty empty up top. But it's a Monday night. We know what's going on in the world. Tough to get everybody down there for Labor Day. Okay. But you're in that kind of arena, in that atmosphere, to get the taste out of your mouth from 2020. And you walk into that first half. You know, I think fans had a right to go a little bit crazy in the postgame.
And they did.
And I'm glad it was you, not me.
It's always me.
I agree with that.
And that's okay. And the truth is, I relish the opportunity really to be the voice of reason and like talk people off the ledge. And I was not in the least interested in being that voice. And Luke, what bothers me, then I think we can start here. What bothers me about that game...
I got one question, though, before we get actually into the game.
Yeah.
Give me a percentage of, like, positivity versus just all-out negative. Was there anybody who was like, no, it's going to be all right, or look at the positives, we outscored them in the second half?
I'll give you two. I'll give you 2 answers to that question.
Okay.
1, there wasn't one, like, sunshine-hearted person that was like, guys, give him time, whatever. Not one. And look, I've been on Twitter for 12 years now. 2009, I was an early adopter, and
That's way before me.
I've been hovering around the same follower count for a year or so. I've kind of reached about where I'm going to be, given what I do. If I change my job or whatever, then it might change. But I've been in the same area. I gained over 200 followers like last night being moderately negative about Louisville. And as the game went on, and I'm going to be honest with you, like, that's two really bad signs for Scott, because that's Louisville fans who are like, I need to see where people are being critical about what's happening on the field. I got to go find, oh, here's some.
Yeah, I need somebody speaking my language right now.
That's bad for Scott. And those people found it because it was happening on the field last night. Luke, I told everyone that's asked me about the game, I can't believe how disappointed I am in the way that game went. And here's where I wanted to start. It has I don't expect them to quit and go into the tank like in 2018. But the start of the season and the way the first game went and the way the team looked relative to the way they were talked up in the summer and in the preseason feels very 2018 to me. The
Puma's going to be better.
The drop back passing game will be better. This might be the fastest team I've ever had. This is going to be Bobby's offense now without Lamar and all that sort of thing. And it was crap. Brian Van Gorder has to be better than Peter Sermon. Well, we know he's a Georgia Tech stopper, and then none of it materialized. None of it. And Luke, this felt every bit like that.
Well,
every bit.
Think about all the parallels to even just the few comments you just made. Like, this is the best offensive line Bignell's ever coached. Malik's got this unbelievable confidence about him. You know, you had running back by committee is going to be better than just going with Hawk. There were so many things. And when you get down to the real evaluation of what you saw out there, it's like your best player's a punter. And he's a freshman. And you don't want your best dang player to be the punter. I mean, I came out here and tried to temper some expectations with Malik in particular, just because I didn't think he had the weapons around him to get him to elevate like he did in 2019. But the text line lit me up when I laughed at, is he a top 50 player in Patty Ice's buy or sell? And when I said he's not a top half of the league quarterback in the ACC. And you know what is like the worst part of that part of the conversation? What was Coach Satt's comments on Malik like halfway through the game?
Well, we have those. So
that is the stuff that you think and you don't say.
Man,
right
how
there.
many times are we going to keep doing that like lately?
Yeah,
you saying the quiet part out loud? Right?
He's coaches,
so,
man.
During the game, Pat, we have that, right? So during the game, was it Molly McGrath?
Yep.
Calling the game, basically said, Satt thinks Malik's not doing any of the stuff he's supposed to do. Listen to this.
Well, Herbie, you said that Louisville's wide receivers need to step up. Well, Scott Satterfield told me that's not possible because Malik Cunningham isn't distributing the ball well enough. He said he's not going through his progressions. He's scrambling too early. And he said, I can tell his confidence has taken a hit. He's rattled a little bit, and I can tell from his body language on the sideline that he is not fully with it right now, guys.
It's interesting because his entire offseason, he and his quarterback coach, that's really what they worked on. Last year with a clean pocket, if everything was timed up perfectly, it's pretty accurate. But when things got a little messy, he struggled and would take off and run. They wanted him to be more patient in the pocket and work through progressions. But based on what you just said, Molly, what we're watching, it's one thing for us to see it. It's another thing for the head coach to be frustrated about it.
I mean, to a T, not going through your progressions, feeling rushed. I mean, it felt like he had it in his head as soon as he got the ball where it was going. Whether that was a check down, whether it was a quarterback run, whether he was going to throw it deep. It was like even they drop 8, it doesn't matter. You already had it in your head predetermined where you were going to throw the football, which is the worst thing. They only had to rush forward to put pressure on him anyway, and he just made the wrong decision in the first half over and over again. I hated looking at some of the play calling that was in there. You know, I'm trying to be optimistic. I think you would describe me as not necessarily a rainbows and butterflies kind of Louisville fan, but I'm pretty optimistic most of the time. That game, I'm struggling to get optimism. Now, I like this coaching staff. I like being around them, but that was disappointing, and probably the most disappointing first half because of the expectations I've seen since Scott Satterfield's been here.
I think every word of that is exactly right. It's the most disappointed I've been in any of Scott's teams at any point since really the Georgia Tech game last year. That was, to me, that was the low point, and this is now the low point. And for Scott to voice that, because here's the thing about what Scott said to Molly McGrath about Malik Cunningham. It shows, at least for this game, really no progress at all. I mean, we spent the summer in camp talking about he's more efficient. He's going through his reads, etc. And then we get right out there under the lights. None of it happens. Total reversion to the Malik that's the least efficient and least effective at all for Louisville. But what's scary about that, Luke, is like if a quarterback's in the game, if another position, if it's a safety, if it's a linebacker, if it's an offensive tackle, and they're not doing the basic parts of their job, what you do is take them out and put in someone else to do the basics of the job. And this is now going on year 2 where Malik's not doing those things, and they don't take him out. And that's actually the right decision because there isn't a better option. And that one of the things, if not the thing, that's going to define Scott, let's say if worst case, this is like the end for Scott after 3 years, and this is sort of the beginning of the end for him, and we'll get into that, obviously. Quarterback recruiting has been abysmal. Year 3, man. Year 3, you don't have even a budding better option, like a potential better option that you could just sort of take your lumps with. If you had a young quarterback, by the way, and you were just sort of like, all right, Malik, that's it. You're done. We're going to take our lumps with the young guy. Then maybe you could sort of put something together by the end of the year and point to that. There's nothing.
That's scary, dude. It's scary to feel like you have no options. This makes me think of the basketball team last year when it was Carleek and David and no one else. You didn't feel like you had any option to put in there. This is Darius Perry. You expected him to come in and play well, and he just gave you nothing when he got in there besides bad fouls and turnovers, dribbling off his foot and whatnot. This right here is ugly because, like you said, it's like if you could go with a young guy that you just want to get him experience and say, hey, we're just going to build for next year, okay, but there's nothing even in the chamber back there you feel confident about. Like I liked Brock. And I've been out there watching practices, and when you see that guy throw the football, he's impressive. I'm shocked that he didn't win the 2 spot anyway, but they didn't even give Evan Conley a chance. He didn't even get in the game. Braden Smith was the only other guy to throw the football. And sickening stat of the weekend, if you're in the second quarter and your quarterback is leading the team in passing, rushing, and receiving, there's a big problem. There's a big problem. I'm with you. You know, again, I've been more critical on Malik than I think most people have. I just didn't expect this big jump. I didn't see where it was going to come from. But I at least would have liked him to sit back there and be able to make mistakes throwing from the pocket. But they were able to get so much pressure on Malik just rushing 4 guys. It wasn't like they were doing exotic blitzes and they were sending a ton of people. If they were, he was getting absolutely smoked. That defense hit hard. I'm not sure who got hit harder, Chandler Jones or Hassan Hall on offense or defense, because Truck Stick came through and absolutely rocked Chandler Jones. Hassan Hall was taking hits left and right.
It was stunning for a team that was one of the worst defensive teams in the country last year to get out there on that field last night. They pummeled Louisville. They hit far harder. The entire body language, body lean, the confidence that they played with, the aggression that they played with. I mean, the first defender consistently tackled Louisville.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes roughly.
Absolutely.
And Louisville was forever chasing guys, lots of reaching, lots of grabbing. The physicality of Ole Miss, I wasn't prepared for that. I was surprised by that.
I don't know why. I don't know why you weren't. I mean, I get it that we talked about the defense not quite being there last year, but you knew that was going to be the focus. This is an SEC team. They've got athletes they just look so much bigger, stronger, and faster. And when you had these one-on-one situations where Louisville had to take advantage, they just couldn't do it. You know, I look back to that trick play, and I think, man, what an opportunity that could have been to kind of shift the momentum. And the block he walks right past him. It's one-on-one, and Malik gets stuck. It's like you couldn't take advantage of any of those one-on-one opportunities. I told you, man, they might not let me back to practice, but going out there and watching last week, I just saw so many drop passes from these receivers, and I thought, man, I hope they just throw it to Marshawn Ford. because that guy's money. And then Malik, I thought he just looked okay in practice. And so I was worried going into this game, but I wasn't expecting the things we thought were going to be good to look that poor. And it's from, like, all over. I mean, you know, Cole Bentley, I saw one where he just, like, I don't know if he tripped, but the middle linebacker just walks right past him.
I've never seen a center.
I key on him because he's a redshirt senior.
I get it, totally. Well, look, we've done the Tobiah Hughley thing here. Like, he doesn't false start at the snap, so that's good. But I've never seen a center facing not forward by the end of plays more than Cole Bentley. I'm just going to like, I would be willing to see what Brian Hudson might be able to give us going forward.
He started 10 games at Virginia Tech last year. We're so excited about this transfer. Like, let the guy run a little bit.
Yeah, that really surprised me.
Give him some burn. I mean, we had Michael Gonzalez in there. I think he's the one that missed that block on that particular play. And I get it. It is one play, but it's the one you got to take advantage of. You're playing the 25th ranked team in the country and somebody that has all this hype on the offensive end. You got to play well to beat them. And they just, every time they had an opportunity, it was slapped down so fast in that first half in a joking way.
Well, I think they really doubted a lot of, honestly, like, I think they really wanted to go in there and essentially establish the run. And once they couldn't do that, they were really doubtful of the wide receivers. I mean, that's how I felt by them not taking a shot early on to a guy like Tyler Harrell. You know, we heard about him all offseason, right? And it was already a little bit weary for me seeing that he wasn't the go-to starter because, by the way, we can't listen to a word this coaching staff says in the offseason. Yeah,
okay.
We just can't.
One of the takeaways that I wrote down for the post-game show last night before I went on the air is the place where it felt most 2018 was that. These guys, last year, they told us about Jared Goldwire. And I think it's fair to say, didn't do jack pretty much all year. Didn't get drafted. Didn't go to anybody's camp, isn't playing in the league, and was never impactful in a game. And they spent this entire offseason telling us that Yaya Diaby was that guy this time. And Yaya Diaby did.
Did he have any stat? I mean,
nothing.
I don't think he had. I don't even think he assisted a tackle.
I said Yaya was going to be the guy. That's on me. I mean, not on me, but you get what I'm saying. I said this guy was going to be lights out, and he looks like the prototypical DN. He looks like a guy who's going to have an opportunity at the next level. I'm glad Yasir played well, but the defense just was not effective. I thought Cam's come on even a few times and talked about safeties and corners, and they dropped back in this zone defense that just didn't know where they were supposed to be. It was like you stood in a spot where you can't do anything. There's no one on that side, and they didn't make the adjustments. I get it. You can't clear that whole side out, but they're not even looking around to find who's next. And you give Matt Corral that kind of time, he just picked them apart.
There was a sad kind of commentary from Herbstreit. I think it was late.
Was this when they were talking about their dogs because they needed to fill some time?
We'll talk about the dog in a second because that was sort of the ultimate insult to injury after the game.
I was like, you got to be.
There was Ole Miss was lining up for a play. I think it was late third quarter. And Herbstreit started talking about the style of offense that Ole Miss runs and what's so difficult about it when they also happen to have some really good, really talented players. And look, Matt Corral, crying out loud, the guy like Brett Favre out there. Super compact throwing motion, throws a brilliant ball.
I thought the Baker Mayfield comparisons were spot on.
Absolutely. Yes, totally. He an unbelievably efficient, accurate, decisive thrower, has a beautiful compact throwing motion, the ball right on time, right on the money every time. And when you have an offense like this, they also, by the way, have two really powerful running backs. Like, it's a nasty offense. There's a reason they scored 48 points in Alabama last year. Like, it's a really good offense. Louisville was going to have to score a lot of points to win this game, even if the defense played great. But Herbstreit kept saying, when you play a team like this, the only hope you have is to have imposing, disruptive defensive linemen who can simply mess up plays on their own so that you can devote as many people as possible to creating this cloud of defenders through the air. And Louisville has exactly 0 of those guys. In year 3, there is not a disruptive defensive lineman on this roster.
Oh, I hate to say that, man. And if there is a team you're going to do it against, it's that one.
Yeah.
It's that one right there. And I know we're going to line up like schedule and what's next for this team a little bit later in the show, but it's scary to, again, play a game like that and see no bright spots. Well, except for the kicker, which I'm going to stop talking about. But it's just, I mean, again, all the positives that we were thinking. Yaya's going to be able to get pressure. The middle linebacking core is going to be really solid.
I thought the middle linebackers were all right until Monty Montgomery got ejected from the game, and then Nick Okeke was lost and cannot be the middle linebacker in that defense against that team.
He got put in one-on-ones against, whether it was Matt Corral or somebody else. He got put in one-on-ones, and he didn't even get a hand on those guys.
That's what I was going to say. That first play he came in, he missed a real bad tackle.
You gotta set the edge over there. I mean, it was disappointing in so many ways. And again, the positives, the things you thought were going to be solid and where you had to make up for some inefficiencies in other areas, the solid things were no good, and the inefficiencies were so bad it was incredible. And they took advantage, man.
I feel like we're at a point when it comes to talking to this coaching staff, and we ask them and we say, hey, who do you like? Who's standing out? Like, everything they say now we have to take with a grain of salt. And defensively, you know, like Mark, we were talking about Yaya Diaby there, and you know, the whole Jared Goldwire thing. That's why the entire time about the edge rushing and getting pressure on the quarterback. That's why I've let the cake bake on all this hype on the defensive line, is because they said the same thing last offseason, and they didn't provide any. And the one thing that we were told was going to be better this year was the defensive line. I was told by multiple people that they were going to get pressure. People that have conversations with folks over there said, look, they're very confident they can get pressure. Here's the deal. If they're getting pressure in practice and Yaya Diaby can do whatever he wants, that means that offensive line sucks.
There was one really nice design blitz where Yasir Abdullah came through untouched and blasted Matt Corral, and then nothing else, and it was just an incredible disappointment. We got a ton of texts, ton of calls. We're going to get to them here. This is sort of a post-game show. So if you want to get in, we're not even going to make you guys wait. Get on in here, 815-939. Let's get right to the phones. Let's start with Chad. Chad, welcome in to The Drive. I almost called it the middle of the post-game show. Welcome into The Drive. I'm 9th on the vote. What's up?
Hey, guys. Man, I as a former walk-on, I had stats back all last season, gave the excuse for COVID, and thought that, you know, it's a whole off season and season got completely messed up. And it's like, trust me, it's going to be better. Took arrows. Everything was looking good in the off season. I say this up until about 2 weeks ago, spoke to some former teammates, and they were like, man, buckle up. We're about to get busted. And then Lee Corso got on there and got on there and did a prediction for the game. A former Louisville coach, and said Louisville is going to lose big. And so when I heard that, I started really backtracking and thinking of what we were seeing and what we were going to see. And I'm completely disappointed. And I'm unfortunately, I love Brian Brown, but I think it's time to make a coaching change. And the sad part about it, kind of like what we were saying about Malik, is that with Fed having a 4-year contract, the financial troubles that we have as a university, I don't think that we can even afford to make a coaching change after this season. So I think essentially we are kind of like a crack door thing, kind of stuck with this situation for another year, and won't be able to do anything except hope that the adjustments will be made immediately to improve the team. And I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Well, I know that we've seen a bunch of texts come through, and we're going to get to a bunch of texts. Like you said, it's going to be like a post-game show today. We're going to let people vent and give their opinion. You know, I appreciate the call, Chad, a former walk-on, so he's got a lot of inside knowledge to the program. You know, I think there is a chance that Ole Miss is a little bit better this year than we're giving them credit for. You know, they were 25th in the country. They're a team whose defense obviously looks better than it did last year. Matt Corral looks like a stud. They seem to have found a great replacement for Elijah Moore. Like, this could be a really good team. And if we sit back and we're 4-1 heading into the Virginia game. Would you say that's crazy, Mark Ennis?
Say it again.
If we're 4-1 heading into the Virginia game, that means we beat Eastern Kentucky, UCF, Florida State, and Wake Forest. Not crazy. Like, there's no way I'm just going to say after game one and one very poor first half of football that like, get this guy out of here. And I know that's going to light up the text line and phone calls, but there's no way I'm going that far. He looked more comfortable, Malik, in the second half. He seemed to at least give his guys the chance. You know, he didn't trust him enough to even give him a chance in the first half. He was just trying to, I don't know, figure out on a fly, like, my rehearsed plays are just going to work, and I don't even have to read and react, which was the worst idea. I thought a texter brought this up. Hudson comes in the second half, plays a lot for Cole Bentley. They were able to move the football a little bit better. I think they should have made that adjustment earlier. I'm kind of disappointed those adjustments didn't happen earlier. But to say, hey, no, I'm out of here, I'm not ready for that. And I know people are going to light me up. I already see 4-1 LOL. I think there's a chance we could get rolling. Now, I will tell you, I'm looking at some stats from the UCF game, which I haven't watched yet. But I did watch. They beat Boise State by 5. And if you want to talk about how Louisville has to get themselves going, like we better beat Eastern Kentucky. But when you think about UCF, they gave up 20 rush yards to Boise State. 20. So if Louisville has to establish a run game there to get the passing game going, UCF outgained Boise State 573 to 283 in total yards. Whew. Now, I'm not ready to say let's pack it up. I think that's crazy after a bad first half of football. But I'm certainly disappointed. Hesitation right
for
there.
For them to be in this position now, the amount of pressure on them to win that UCF game is going to be out of this world. And we'll look at all of the implications of this game from last night. We got 3 hours.
Yeah.
We're going to get into them.
And just as far as like importance, how did you guys feel that particular game was as far as the most important game Sat has had in his Louisville career?
This one, last night?
Yes.
I didn't. Well, they're underdogs, should have been underdogs. And just to be clear here, like, they could have played extremely well and lost last night. But they lost and didn't play well. And now we're super pissed about it.
Right.
And we should be. Right?
Right.
It didn't feel like it was win or lose was super important. Like, lots of things hinge on it. But the worst thing that could have happened is what happened, where they looked the way they looked and lost like this. And it now creates all manner of high-pressure problems for him for the rest of the season, because not only – it wasn't like, look, maybe it's about Ole Miss. And the last thing I wanted to say here, the best-case scenario here is that maybe Ole Miss is like a dark horse playoff contender, right? That, like, they are – the real story here is, because we only have one data point, is that they are actually – awesome, and that game was really way more about them than Louisville. But screw that. I'm tired of that.
Right.
It's an easy case to make, though. They beat your boys at the end of the game last year to get a little momentum going. They beat Indiana, and then they come out and steamroll Louisville. Yeah, true.
I'm just messing.
Bleep you guys. I will give you right. You're right. No, you do make a good case, Luke, because Ole Miss won 4 of their last 5 matchups on the season. You know, they finished with a lot of momentum, and something that I was really curious about was whether or not that momentum would carry over in 2021. That is obviously the case. Like, that's a good football team. The thing that I think stands out about it, though, this is what I can't figure out. Is Ole Miss's defensive line this good, or is Louisville's offensive line terrible that 3 guys are getting by 5 dudes on the offensive line? A 3-man rush, and Louisville can't stop.
That was so unbelievably depressing. Remember we had Brett Norsworthy on the first time, and he was like, if I was Louisville, I'd come out and just run right at him. Well, they tried.
Yeah.
And they didn't move anybody. I was like, it's Brett Norsworthy. Either these are all new guys, or that dude lied to us, because Louisville didn't move anybody.
Or Louisville's that bad.
Well, that's the real answer. Louisville wasn't able to. The offensive line selling us this might be Big Nell's best offensive line. Hey, we got AD, we got real competition. Trevor Reed got benched.
Would you have liked a response from them that was a little better than what you got last night? I know you said it was an incredibly short post game, but answering that question right there, if this is supposed to be such a great offensive line, what's up with the struggles? What's up with the lack of adjustments? Again, Hudson going in there in the second half, they looked better.
The really terrible part, and we'll get to Frank, we'll get to Lawrence here in just a second. The really terrible part about all of this is it was well after midnight. Yeah. By the time Scott's talking to the media, it's out of town. It's not like it was down, here where you can sort of, and then because they have a short week, we're not
got to get home, get ready to roll for the next one.
Well, they're not going to do the weekly press conference, or we're not going to get to ask them the normal things. I mean, if I had to go to a press conference right now, I'd go in there and be like, Scott, every other coach on earth, NFL and pretty much elite in college knows the numbers all say the worst thing you can do on 2nd and 10 is just run the ball again. But they do it consistently. It's like a pre-analytical mindset, and it drives me nuts.
I mean, how many 3rd and 9s were there?
There was a 3rd and 11 in this game where they ran a quarterback sweep.
That was like one of the more painful.
That felt like surrender.
3-play set I have ever seen.
It's unbelievable.
It was brutal. Yeah, I know you want to get a couple callers in here, and we got to hit a break soon. So who you want next?
Let's get Frank in here next. He's been waiting. Frank, thanks for waiting, buddy. Welcome into the drive on 9th on the Ville. What's up?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. My thing is a couple of things. I'm going to let you get to the next call. First thing that really jumped out at me was the fact that we were playing them without their coach, and we looked underprepared. The second thing that jumped out at me was the fact that I'm looking at the angles that our guys were missing, and they was missing bad. Yeah. It wasn't even close. And the last thing that the games are won in between the tackles, and unfortunately, and I think the previous call you all have alluded to it, is Ole Miss, is their defense and offensive line that good, or are both offensive and defensive line is that bad? So I'm like the last caller. I'm not going to give up on them, but I will be willing to see how good Ole Miss is and can we improve off that abysmal first half performance, because they could have hung 55, 56, they could have hung 60 on us if they wanted to. That second half was more prevent than it was us. I mean, and we made some adjustments, but they were more prevent than anything. So I'm going to hang up and listen. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, appreciate the call there. Yeah, the big takeaways, if we could get both Cody and Lawrence to just wait because we haven't taken a break yet. You guys, we need to take a break. We'll come right back. We'll get right to you. And I want to respond to one of the points that Frank just made
good ones there,
about the lines in particular. So we'll get to them, and we'll get to you callers. We'll get to that point on the other side here on the drive on 9th on the Ville.
Are you ready for a job that gets you more? UPS is hiring now. As a warehouse worker, you'll earn up to $21 per hour, and you might even be eligible for a program that helps you with thousands of dollars for college, in many cases tuition free. Search and apply now at upsjobsky.com.
Card Nation, this is attorney Alex White with SueDistractedDriver.com. Our law firm is a team of dedicated attorneys ready to fight for you. If you get injured because of someone else's negligence, their insurance company already has a legal team, and now so do you. If you or a friend or loved one are injured, find your attorney at SueDistractedDriver.com.
This is an advertisement.
You're locked on the drive, presented by Fitness Market, right here on 93.9 The Ville. Now here's Mark Ennis and Luke Hancock.
Welcome back into the drive here on 93.9 The Ville. Mark Ennis, Luke Hancock here on a Tuesday. Hope everyone had, up until last night, an enjoyable Labor Day weekend. I did rage eat an entire rack of ribs last night in the first half. I ate them quarter sections of the rack at a time, and I was so just annoyed and angry by what was happening. I didn't realize I'd finished it.
What's your grill of choice again? What's your setup?
I have a big green egg.
Oh, nice.
And I thought I had another section of them left. I was like, oh my God, I ate them all already. And then Famous Dave's tweeted at me this morning, like, that's how we watch football too.
That's pretty funny. You know what?
Great.
You know what's funny? You bring that up about food. Last night I ate an entire bowl of watermelon while watching that game.
So you ate an entire watermelon?
Essentially, so I have like one of these big ass bowls. I cut it up and I put it in there, and it's got the flaps on there. You take it in out of the fridge when you need it, right? Because you gotta have a big ass bowl for a watermelon. I smashed this thing last night.
I will say your vice of choice when you're upset about the football game is better than mine.
What's yours?
Liquid.
Well, I get. If I didn't have a post game show, believe me, it would have been the brown water.
I hear you.
For sure.
By the way, somebody sent the text in and asked if any of our teams ever experienced a loss like this. Well, first off, one of these is not like the other, but we did lose 3 straight when we were number 1 in the country and went on to win a championship. So it does happen. This one, I'm not going to try and put lipstick on this pig. Like, it just doesn't work. But
yeah, I'm not going to ask any of you to feel good about this or treat this like it's something else. We're going to get to Lawrence and Cody here in just a second. If you want to get in, you can. 8150-939. The previous caller, Frank, mentioned 2 things. One, if you were Vinny Testaverde, if you were colorblind and you watched that game last night, you didn't know who was who, right? You could have watched the whole game, and I was like, okay, now that the game's over, which team played without their head coach?
Oh, easy choice.
It's insult to injury, the fact that it looked the way that it did with Lane Kiffin not even there.
And basically trolling us from his living room or wherever.
For sure. I thought he would live tweet the game. Yeah, he might as well have.
I would like to know like how involved he was.
He's not allowed to have any communication at all.
Huh.
Yeah.
SEC's rules. Like if a coach is disqualified because of COVID, they cannot have virtual communications or electronic or nothing. He just has to watch. Because Nick Saban wanted it last year.
Instead, he got a new doctor. He tested positive on like a Wednesday and coached that weekend.
Oh, right. He made sure to make that thing was a false positive.
Yeah.
But the other thing that Frank mentioned was the lines and the physicality of the lines. And without question, my biggest disappointment, year 3, they still don't move anybody and they still don't beat anybody. These offensive and defensive lines don't hold up when they play anybody any good. And it's a shame because it's not how it was when he was at App State. Those lines were awesome. And they had nasty, quick, troublesome defensive linemen that did well against the Tennessees and the Penn States and others that they played. And they have not found those guys here. They have not held up here. More in a little bit about his experience at App State versus his experience here because I want to get back to that. But Lawrence has been waiting. Cody's going to be after that. Lawrence, welcome into the drive on 9th and the Bell. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Mark? What's up, Luke?
What's up, dude?
You know what? I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but you need to evaluate some of these players who are starting right now for this Louisville football team. This week in practice and this Saturday in the game. Evaluate who wants to actually be on the field, who don't want to be on the field, who actually going to play hard, who ain't going to play hard. Because right now, if you need to make the offense simple for Malik, because Malik is doing nothing but turn down receiving.
Yep. Robotic.
Instead of like if you want to make it simple, just run a whole lot of passing plays from Martin forward. Get him to throw him the ball a couple times, then throw the ball to the other receivers. And Cole Bentley, he needs to be benched once and for all. Because I've watched that game at least 2 times already, and Cole Bentley kept getting beat every single time. Instead of him trying to box the man, he turns around trying to see what's going on in the backfield. You're supposed to be focused on the guy in front of you, not the backfield. And the defense, man, I'm not mad at the defense because the offense put the defense in a bad position, and hopefully things will get better next couple of games.
Appreciate the call, Lawrence. Look, the flickering, semi-bright spot of the game was that in the second half, the offense, and we don't know, the problem is we don't know how much was Ole Miss sort of just being methodical and being uber protective of a 26-0 halftime lead. But Louisville did score 24 points and outscored them 24-17 second half. And did throw the ball effectively in the second half. And it was a different offensive line. And it was Amari Huggins-Bruce was in the game. Josh Johnson in the game. Some of the younger guys, not the guys, Jordan Watkins. I would be extremely hopeful if they came out onto the field against Eastern Kentucky and Hudson is the starter at center, Stick with Gonzalez. Hey, it's the youth movement, man. We're going with it. At the one tackle spot, Huggins Bruce is starting. Hassan Hall dropping. Okay, I hate the speed option to the short side of the field call.
That's the exact play I was talking about, though.
It was going to work.
Absolutely. That's where you just couldn't take advantage. Either the Braden Smith throwback, where they missed the block that he could have taken off on, or that play right there. He makes the easy pitch. You've got one job. You know it's coming. Butterfingers. Shouldn't have ate that popcorn. I mean, those are the kind of plays. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not going to win them the game. They didn't play good enough in the first half. But you got to take advantage when those opportunities present themselves. You had a 2-on-1 on the outside. Malik makes the perfect pitch. You got to snag that.
Texter says Cole Bentley was Burger King. Anyone lined up over him had it their way. It's true. I want Hudson at center. I want Huggins Bruce in the game. I want Watkins and Josh Johnson in the game. I want Travion Cooley getting the second carries.
That's what I was going to say.
After Jalen Mitchell. By the way, Jalen Mitchell at least running over the nose tackle for Ole Miss was pretty sweet. Those two, I want to see some changes and at least sell me on something a little bit more aggressive. And I want to see them. Sorry, Scott. When you went fast, it worked better.
Well, let me ask you this. I thought the entire first half, why the hell would you not pick up the pace? Nothing you're doing is working. Pick up the damn pace. At least try to get them off balance. Yeah. Yes, make adjustments in the first half. And we talked about this on the pregame show. If Scott had to go off the script, which even though they were getting their you-know-what and their teeth kicked in, they didn't go off the script. They kept on doing with this basic package. And just this generic set of plays they like to run. That includes running the ball on second down. I'm like, fellas.
Not just second down, 2nd and 9.
2nd and 9, 3rd and long. All this BS. And I'm like, fellas, what the hell are you doing? Just at some point, you can't be afraid to go off the script and try something different. And that's what Ole Miss did. They were expecting Ole Miss to blitz the hell out of them to stop the run. And instead, they sat back. And Ole Miss took the Indiana approach against Louisville, dropping all those guys back and saying, hey, we dare you. We dare you to essentially run the ball down our throats. And they couldn't. They had that much confidence in their D-lines. But regardless, don't be afraid to change the pace.
Let's get Cody in here. He's waited more than enough. Cody, thanks for waiting as long as you did, buddy. Welcome into the Drive on 9th Avenue. What's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm starting to catch people, not you guys, but just fans in general, giving Malik the VJ King credit. Like whenever VJ King didn't take a dumb shot or got a rebound, you're like, oh yay, he got a rebound. We're starting to get that way with Malik, where when he doesn't throw the ball to the other team's hands and he actually throws it out of bounds like he's supposed to, you're like, oh, good job, Malik. He's just not a
sympathy
good quarterback.
Points.
Yeah, he is not a good quarterback. He's and at the same time, it's also Scott's fault for not bringing in good competition to challenge him and develop him right, man. It's just all around a bad system offensively. And I'm starting to think that Dwayne Ledford had a lot more to do with the creative play calling their first year here than Scott did, man. Because I think last year he took a little bit more reins on calling the plays, Scott, and it was stagnant. And this year it's the same thing. I really think Dwayne Ledford had a lot more impact offensively than we give him credit for. And it's no wonder he got the hell out of here. Now he's in the NFL, but dude, that was a way bigger loss than we thought. And what irritates me is I saw some good things out of the defense, and they gave our offense enough chances to get out there and actually produce something. But bro, I've got enough of a sample size now to say, A, Malik is not fit to run an offense, and B, I don't think Scott's the guy, man. I don't think Scott's the guy. It really looked FCS out there. And from what I've been hearing on other shows, they're the reason why they're so healthy coming into that game was because they're not tackling as hard. I don't think that they're running intense enough drills. These guys just went out there and looked soft. And some of our best success. I mean, we got Bobby Petrino his first stint here. He was a coordinator. He was a hungry coordinator. Same with Charlie Strong. I mean, dude, go out there because I don't think we're going to get Jeff Brom. His contract is too big. Go out there and get you a hungry.
Brom isn't any good right now. Sorry.
I know. That's just the narrative I've been hearing. I'm not big on Brom. I'm saying go out there and get you a really awesome, intense coordinator that's hungry and get him in here and let's go in another direction, man. We're not having fun. Nobody's having fun right now. That's the scary thing. So Thank y'all for letting me vent. But yeah, I'm done. I'm done. So see you guys.
I know we're going to get more into the discussion about like ultimate realities here. Like, is this the guy or not? Should he be fired or not? I'm going to say what I said last night on the postgame show. And I remember the moment it happened after the Georgia Tech game in 2018, when I came on postgame show, I was like, look, if you want a coaching change, I want you to know I'm not there yet. I think we need to hold on here. However, I no longer think you're crazy. And I'm going to tell you right now, Luke, I'm there. I'm at the point where if you feel like, hey, I've seen enough, this guy's not the guy, I don't agree with you yet, but I no longer think you're crazy.
I don't think I'm quite there yet. Sorry. I know people are going to continue to light me up, but I'm not there. I think you played a pretty darn good team at Ole Miss. You can say whatever you want about Lane Kiffin not being there. The team was still going to be good. I mean, they have a guy who was the head coach at Maryland stepping in and basically taking that role. I know it didn't make him, coach for the day or whatever you want to call it. But they went out there and played really well in that first half. I don't get very excited about outscoring them in the second half. I think they were playing to the situation. They can play that prevent. They can let Louisville kind of tick away at yards, waste time. They knew they were going to win the game. But ultimately, I think you better see a wake-up call on that offensive line. And Malik, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm a little worried that his confidence is going to dwindle. Again, I go back to that halftime comment where he just kills the guy. And I played for a coach that used the media to try and fire you up at times, and he also sometimes used press conferences and things early on in the season to kind of tear you down, make you not think you're such hot stuff. Cody, I get a lot of those points, man, but what do you do at this point? I don't want Evan Conley to step in there right now.
Yeah, I don't have confidence in him either. I mean, Evan Conley gets sacked 5 more times last night.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. They would sit back more, let him try and sling it around. You weren't going to take the top off that defense. They were so
like
far.
Malik can,
no way.
Evade like Malik can. That's the thing, that we are in this terrible position where Malik is not good enough.
And still is option 1, 2, and 3.
Is still the best option. That's exactly. You are 100% right. Let's go to Plumber Chuck up next. Plumber Chuck, welcome into the Drive on 9th. What's up?
First thing, brother, I feel sorry for you for the post-game show yesterday. I went to bed at halftime. The game was over at halftime, and that dope, I'm going to call him a dope, which he is dope, he got embarrassed on the field, and Malik throwing him under the bus was great. I'm going to take up for Malik. He's playing. The guy's the coach. He's getting paid a lot of money, and he looks like an idiot. And we went through this last year, and everybody said COVID. Well, everybody went through COVID and got through it, and some were better than others. And we're going down the same track this year. Granted, this weekend it's not on TV. You're supposed to beat Eastern Kentucky, and that's not, if you go out there and beat them 45-17 or whatever you're going to beat them by, hopefully you beat them, that's not going to show me anything. Week 3 against Central Florida is going to show what we really look like, and right now we're not looking too good. And Luke, you're entitled to your opinion, but last year I said I was done with this guy, and, I said winning cures everything. Well, I think a lot of us are done with him. I think the deer in headlights look, and then the comment at halftime with Malik, that pretty much summed it up for me. So I'm done with him, and like I said, we'll be talking basketball after week 3. So hang up and listen.
Well, thank you very much for the call and for waiting there. My job isn't to defend Scott. I'm maybe a little too optimistic on the football side, but I'm going to give him a chance. I'm looking at week 3 like Plumber Chuck is right there, and I'm thinking you got to show up and play well against UCF. Again, if you're sitting there at 4-1, I think we all know that we're going to feel differently, and it's going to be a different conversation at that point. There are games that you can win. The tough part is I don't have a lot of optimism in several key areas, and I've said this from the moment we started this show. If you don't have a good quarterback in the ACC, you're going to underachieve expectations. Your quarterback has to be somebody that gives you opportunities to win the game. And in that first half, they didn't make enough adjustments to keep Ole Miss on their toes. They let them drop 8. They only had to rush 3 or 4, and it was just like you have no option. You have to make teams pay for dropping back like that. You do that by what we thought was going to be the prime area for this offense, run the football and get 5 or 6 yards each time, put yourself in 3rd and 1 situations, or get yourself downfield where you can take a couple shots. And if Scott Satterfield is going to be so focused on establishing the run, you have to be able to do it. And to the caller's point before that, I wanted to say this and we went straight to the next one, but I get it. You say Ledford was more impactful than most people are giving him credit for, but there's a guy named Mekhi Becton who's a very high draft pick who can make even a mediocre line look pretty darn good if you run it left. I remember specifically that Virginia game.
Absolutely right.
Where there was only one play. Just run behind Mekhi and you're going to score.
And then all the reverses and everything off of that.
Right. He set the edge like nobody's
exactly.
business. Yes, for sure. And I mean, Ledford should be sending him a Christmas card every year.
Yeah. Mekhi's
Christmas gift.
Generational talent at tackle. They took advantage of it. They have not been able to replicate that since. And if anything, maybe last night was a little bit of a shock that Javian Hawkins can't catch on somewhere because that guy made a whole lot of yards out of nothing a year ago. And he's not there now, and they were a lot more defendable last night.
Were you thinking Hassan Hall was going to step up and take that role? Because it's not for lack of opportunity. The dude was everywhere.
And I'm hopeful that Cooley might be able to do that with some opportunities. Because Javian Hawkins, as a freshman, wasn't a breakaway guy, and then last year sort of took off. And hopefully, maybe they can find that guy. Hassan Hall dropping that 4th and 1 pitch, brutal. There needs to be some sort of consequences for that. And this is year 3 for him, and he still is tackled by the first defender every single time. And look, you're the running back. You got to run through some tackles. If Jalen Mitchell can run over the nose tackle, buddy, you can beat some strong safety. Okay? You just can.
And when you look at that guy, you just think, man, what a beast. This guy's going to be awesome. He's fast. He's agile. He's strong enough. But you're right. It's one tackle. You have to be able to take advantage of one-on-one situations at that level, right? It should be tougher for somebody to bring you down in space, especially corners and safeties, if you're a running back. And it just wasn't, much less an outside linebacker.
Let's get Chip in here before we get too close to the top of the hour here. Chip has been waiting. Chip, welcome into the Drive on 9th. What's up?
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Now that I've had a few hours to try to calm down and look at the situation with a little more perspective, I agree with Luke. I'm not going to let one game destroy my feelings for Satterfield of the team. But what really bothered me last night, and I can accept a loss because I think that we were, even the point spread, we were not expected to win last night. But right out of the gate, if you remember, right out of the gate, we were not ready to play. The defense at the very beginning, if you remember, they were more busy looking at the sidelines when the ball was hiked. They weren't even in position. They weren't even in their down stance when the ball was hiked. And that really bothers me and I remember a game, it was during Bobby's last year when he had that terrible defensive coordinator. We had the same issue.
BVG.
We had the exact same issue. We had defensive players because the speed of the game was going fast. They were looking over the sideline rather than playing football. And that just means they weren't ready to play. And that really bothers me. That really bothers me. And the second point I want to make, and I'll get off, is if it's about recruits, we've got a bigger problem starting this year, which is name, image, likeness. We've got to compete now with name, image, likeness to get recruits. I mean, are we going to be able to compete in that world, being Louisville? That's scary when it comes to our future and recruiting. And I'll get off the line and let you guys have at it.
But hey, I'll tell you what. Let's take a break because we're really close to the top of the hour here. Let's take a break and let's pick it up right there on that question because it matters. It's a world, the world that we live in now for college sports. So we'll take a break here.
We'll hit these callers right when we get back.
Yeah, we get Eric, Jeff, but guys, just hang in there. We'll get right back to you at the top of the hour here on the Drive on 9th.